Everybody. So when I was about 16 or 17 years old, I got pretty brutally beat up, like jumped on the streets for no reason whatsoever. Had my nose smashed to pieces, getting stamped and kicked on the ground, the usual thing, right? But from that point, right, it really messed with my confidence. I was always looking over my shoulder, became very afraid, and I decided it wasn't going to happen to me again. So I started studying like kickboxing, boxing, jiu-jitsu, all kind of stuff I've studied over the years, right? And I got to a pretty decent level at that kind of stuff. I got used to getting hit around and, like inspiring and stuff every week. So I wasn't worried about getting hit or any of that. But fast forward to when I was 24 years old, right? Up until that point, like just done the usual stuff, went to sixth form, went to uni, graduated uni, but I had no clue what I wanted to do. All I cared about was my family, my friends, and skateboarding. And at that point in my life, I was doing a lot of drugs and just drinking and just like aimlessly going through life with no purpose, not really knowing what to do and kind of being afraid of the future when I looked at it. Anyway, it was at that point in my story when God turned my life around, right? And then about 2 weeks after he turned my life around, I was in a pub with some of my friends who were also like really hard guys. No one in the town would mess with them. They were known as the guys who were the tough guys, right? And we were kind of in this pub, sitting in a long line. There's about 4 or 5 of us. And I looked at the other end of the pub and there was a big crowd, maybe over 10 men, right? And right in the middle of them, I clocked one of the guys who had been one of the guys who had beaten me up, right? There was about 4 or 5 of them that had done it originally. And he saw me looking and he recognized me. And he took his shirt off, right? Tattooed up and just like shredded. And he walks over to my friend, sits opposite my friend and says, "Who are you?" And so that guy said his name to this other guy. And then he moved up and asked the same question to my other friend. "Who are you? What's your name? Blah, blah, blah." Being super aggressive, right? And I knew what he was doing. He was working his way down the line to me, right? And eventually he gets to me and he says, "You look like the spit of a guy who took me to court years ago," right? And I said, my heart was pounding out my chest, right? I was so afraid. And that was what was freaking me out. Like, why was I so afraid? I was with guys who could back me up, right? I'd learned how to take a punch. I wasn't scared about getting in a fight, but I was so afraid of this guy. He had some kind of hold on me or something. It was weird, right? My heart was pounding out my chest, right? And there was an empty pint glass in front of me on the table. And I was thinking, do I have to smash this on the table and like cut this guy, right? That's what was going on in my head. And he said to me those things. He said, "You look like a guy who took me to court years ago." And I said, "Well, I look like that guy because I am." And then he reached over the table and like this to shake my hand. And I had a choice to make in that moment. Do I take his hand or not? And he said, "I just want to tell you, I don't do that kind of thing anymore," right? And I was like really, really shook up. He went back to his friends and I was just sitting there. And I got up and I walked to the bar, and because God had turned my life around recently, right, at that point, I asked God, I said, "God, why am I still so shook up and scared of this whole thing? What's going on?" And you know what God said to me in that moment? He said, "James, you're scared because you haven't forgiven him." And it blew my mind that I was still under the control of fear and worry and all of this stuff because I hadn't forgiven the person who had hurt me so much, right? And right then in that moment, I said to God, I said, "God, I'm sorry. Please help me forgive this guy." And in that moment, I said, "God, I forgive him. Help me forgive him." And after that moment, right, I felt that weight lift off me, that fear lift off me. So I want to challenge you guys out there now. Who haven't you forgiven because it's holding you back from something? All right? There's things that are linked. Fear and forgiveness is one of them. All right. God bless you all. See you next time.